The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
Greetings and salutations, fine people. I'm Patty Alvarez. Welcome to The Good Soul, a show where we'll have supercharged chats with everyday humans from all walks of life and unpack what in their story will inspire us all. We'll extract the untapped wisdom, distill it, and serve it up to you in all the right ways that will engage, enlighten, and most of all, inspire growth within your soul. I think people are awesome, so join me on this journey through the hearts and minds of ordinary people to uncover the good soul within you. This is The Good Soul. Welcome, everybody, to The Good Soul. We are on episode 47, and our good number 47, and that episode is titled, Come to Jesus. I love that term. I have so much to say about it, and I'm here with my good friend, Gary Breit. Gary, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Patty.
Thanks.
Excited to be here.
Oh.
I mean, I've been coming to your studio now for, I don't know how long, 3+ years, I think.
Probably.
So, and we've been talking about potentially doing this for a while, so excited to make it happen.
To finally make it happen. Yes. Yeah. So through Mark and Dorothy, right? Correct.
Yeah, probably through Dorothy to Mark.
Yeah,
to me, yes.
Mark. Yep, that's
Yes.
right. Cool. Well, I'm glad. Look at us now.
Yes.
Yeah. So come to Jesus. That is a very powerful topic, I think, for most of us. And no matter what your religious background, none of us could argue that he was probably the most remarkable and amazing person to walk the face of the earth and the most influential.
Seems that way. Yes,
Seems that way.
Agree.
Yeah. I think that that's pretty much been decided. So I kind of grappled, not so much grappled. It wasn't necessarily adversarial or challenging or upsetting to me, but I just kind of pulled away. I was raised Roman Catholic, and I was confirmed. I had, of course, my baptism, my communion. I went through all the sacraments, and to date, that is. And somewhere in my early 20s, I got a little rebellious, and I would go to church and be like, what is this? This is, I think a lot of young people go through things similar to that.
I probably had the same experience, yes.
You did?
Grew up Roman Catholic in Wisconsin. Cheesehead, yes. And then, probably when I went to college in Madison, it's not a very religious place, very the opposite. And then probably not until, thanks to my wife, who you know, Stacia,
yes,
really brought me back when I met her at probably about 23, right after school, a couple months after school.
Okay.
Yeah, after finishing undergrad.
You met in college?
No, so we met, I'm from Wisconsin, went to University of Wisconsin in Madison, got a job in Chicago, and was in a fraternity and joined a fraternity friend of mine and my roommate out of Chicago. A little bit of a long story, met in Fort Myers, and my wife was graduated a year before me, was taking care of her grandfather before he passed. And when he died, she wanted to do a nursing job away from home. So she took a nursing job in Fort Myers, and we met on a booze cruise.
You just happened to be in Fort Myers at the same time.
We just happened to meet in Fort Myers on a booze cruise.
I love those stories.
And we were, myself, my buddy from school, and her were probably the only people under 40 on the boat.
My
so
God.
we kind of found each other.
Bonded.
And we hung out all week. And then by the end of the week, I like to say, she sort of picked me.
Oh, okay.
Because we were all three of us kind of hanging out a little bit. Yeah. And then I remember it very well. He took a shower. She took my drink, set it down, and kissed me.
Oh.
And then then I started flying down every weekend. I was working in Atlanta as a consultant. And and then 8 months later, we were engaged. 8 months later, we were married.
8 months.
Yeah.
Wow. At what age was this?
Like 23.
Oh, wow.
Probably, I met in 23, engaged and married at 24.
Wow. So you were young.
Yeah.
I would say with Manny and I wasn't going through a kind of a tough time, and I was recently divorced, and then, living alone. I always call it my eat, pray, love phase. And I was ready to go home and unroll my yoga mat and watch, I don't know what, and read the Bhagavad Gita.
So you've been doing yoga for a long time.
Long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, my sister was like, you are coming to this party. That's it. You're coming. And had I not gone to that party, we wouldn't be sitting here. Although you say sometimes, honey, we would have met somewhere else. You're like, no, we would have met somewhere.
If it's destiny, it's destiny.
Yeah, you guys might have met.
I do believe in destiny. I do believe that
Fate.
some of us may have known each other before.
Cloud Atlas, yeah.
And
Well-
we reconnect, in heaven or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
And
yeah,
on this earth.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Did you
but
ever
then
see the
after-
movie or
yeah.
read the book Cloud Atlas?
I think I might have seen the
It's-
movie. Yes.
It's all about like that. It's all parallel generations and everybody.
Yeah.
Universes.
Yeah. Well, not universes, but timelines, right?
Universes, because they're happening at the same time, basically, sometimes if you go back and watch.
They're just different versions of themselves.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't know about that.
Yeah.
But-
maybe
Yeah.
not. But what are we watching? That's Man in the High Castle. I keep talking about
We
that
watched
show.
that a few years
It's a
ago.
great
That was
show.
very good.
I'm
Yes,
so
that's-
into it.
that's-
Anything World War II, I'm like,
And that's another thing you got to think about. You're like, what's going on, man?
Yes,
Oh, wait,
we
wait,
enjoyed that.
Oh, who's that? No,
Well-
he's good now. He's bad. No, he's good.
well, Man in the High Castle, you really don't know. Probably. I still am like, huh? Now, the trade minister is just starting to like
Okay, you're in
see
the
the
first
past.
season or something.
Yeah, so I'm in the
Oh.
second season.
Okay.
So
Yeah, what I liked about that movie was, I think, how little events can make a person really bad in one
yeah,
place, and then maybe
really
or
good.
decisions make decisions and putting yourself into places. I think that if I remember that movie, it's been quite a few years, but I think about that a lot, about people who are doing not good things, evil things or whatever, and what got them down that path.
What triggered him?
And I think a lot of times you go down this path and it's hard to get out.
Yeah.
And
Well-
maybe when I talk about what's happened with me, that's one way. For me, that's how I got out of my routine.
The right decisions. Well, I think in the case of Hitler, like if you watch Hitler and the Nazis, he was a hero before. I
Yeah.
mean, basically, he was revered. I mean, the German citizens were like, they thought he was.
Yeah, I think they were still suffering from post World War I,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
a
and
lot
he
of
came
poverty,
in.
a lot of things, and he built that up.
Yeah,
And when that changed, I don't know, but my wife and I are very interested in that. What environment created that scenario where
right.
so
From
many
a good guy to a horrible guy.
Especially him. It's like, what the heck?
Boom.
Yeah.
I'm saving lives. Now I'm killing
Yeah.
them.
All right, Gary, real quick. So I just want to back this up a little
Yeah.
bit. What did you go to school for? Because we have to wrap things up
Yeah,
in just
so
about
I'm-
30 seconds.
so I'm an engineer
Okay.
by industrial engineering, and have just done consulting, traveled a lot. That's where I met my wife. We moved around a lot, and then I went back to school. I had neck surgery at 29. My C6-7 burst. I had to stop working, applied to business school, went to school in Philly at Wharton at the University of Penn.
Wow. That's
And
impressive.
And then after that, I took a short stint in New Jersey working for Lucent. And then I got brought to North Carolina with Lowe's, was there 15 years. All of my wife's family was here between Charlotte, Raleigh, and Charleston. And then, it's been 3 years at a new company. I'm at Electrolux.
Okay. And that's how you met the Dianas in New Jersey?
No, that's Stacia's first cousin.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
I knew
that's
that.
my
I'm
wife's.
sorry.
That's my
Okay.
wife's first cousin. Yes.
And-
So his mother and her dad were neighbors in New Jersey.
Okay. This
in
is our
Bloomfield.
mutual friend, Mark Diana.
Yes.
Now, also, how old are your kids and where were they when they were born? Were you?
Oh, so we had one in Philly when I was at business school, my first.
Okay.
Interesting, because I worked on Wall Street a month before 9/11. I was
Wow.
working in World Trade One on the 77th floor for Merrill Lynch for
Wow.
the summer. I did
Yeah, they
investment
didn't do
banking.
too well in the
Came
summer.
back to
Yeah.
Philadelphia for my second year of business school, and
Right.
then that ended. And then my son was born in New Jersey when I was working there for a couple of years.
Okay,
And they're
so
23 and 21.
okay, so your daughter is older than your son.
Yes.
I thought the opposite.
Yes,
And Gabby and
Joshua.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. All right, so now that we have all that out of the way, we're going to wrap up segment 1 because I'm really excited to learn about your embracing this, your religion and more deeply, getting
Yes.
more deeply into your
Yes.
religion. So guys, a lot to learn from Gary. Don't go away. We'll be back in just a few on The Good Soul. See you in a few. This segment of The Good Soul is brought to you by Aaron Fisnick, certified luxury home specialist with Ivester Jackson Christie's International Real Estate. Aaron serves all levels of the greater Lake Norman region real estate market, and whether buying or selling, she is very much the lady who will deliver like no other. Many of us at Good Soul are also really happy clients. Aaron can be reached at 704-728-5657 or reach out to me and I'll get you guys connected. Thank you, Aaron Fisnick, and thank you guys for tuning in and supporting The Good Soul. Welcome back, everybody, to The Good Soul. I am Patty Alvarez. I am here with, as we like to call him, I say it in front of my husband, Handsome Gary. I'm going to make Handsome Gary blush now.
Yeah.
Molly, my daughter, before was like, does he know you call him Handsome Gary? I'm like, I don't know, maybe. We don't always call you that, Gary, but take it as a compliment.
No, I do.
You do. You should be in the J. Crew catalog. So anyway, let's talk about JC. Let's talk about your relationship. I want you to just take this.
Yeah, so I had, how do I start this? So common in the Christian world is, giving testimonies of how Jesus, God, impacted your life, significantly changed. So I said that I grew up Catholic, and I'll just jump right in. So
hang on, before you start, take your microphone and go a little bit more like this, because when you look at me, your head's away from.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to talk right into it. Yeah.
So I'll just jump right in. It's easiest, I think, to do it that way. So when I was about 10, so I'm the oldest of four, and my parents were kind of going through a divorce. The priest was, doing that process. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, he was sexually abusing me. Oh,
I had a feeling you were going to say that to me.
So
okay,
that sucked.
Yeah,
and,
that definitely sucked.
Freaking hey, man.
So
how many years?
I'm not a lot of it. I think maybe blocked out. I can remember a handful of events, and I can remember very specifically when I told him to stop. And in my mind, it did. And then, so then you're a little off, right? Because your parents are divorced, it seemed like, and then you're a little financially less, less off as well.
You lived with your mother, I'm assuming.
Lived with my mom, saw my dad every other week, and it was difficult.
Did your parents know about this at that time?
No. So let me get through that. So then,
I'm sorry.
So nobody knew. I just sort of blocked it out, and then went on with my life until I met my wife. I think that's the first person I had told so that was 10, and then that was like 23. So told her, and I remember we were sitting in a pool at her parents' house, and I just kind of threw it out there. And then, she says, well, what kind of therapy did you do, or what, and I said, oh, no, I'm fine. I'm good. I just wanted to tell you because, I'm sharing so much with you. And then, so we went on really, and then things started, we had our children, moved around a lot. And then I kind of jumped to about 2018, 2017, I think I'm about 46, 47. And I didn't know it at the time, but when your youngest child gets to about the age of when you were abused, it becomes a very difficult time.
Interesting.
I didn't know that.
I've never heard that. Yeah.
I had heard that afterwards because things just felt like coming to a head.
What did that look like? Like how so?
Just sort of having a hard time with control, I guess. Let me help get there. So my daughter started seeing a naturopath doctor, and I started taking her there, and I became good friends with this doctor, a woman. And she all of a sudden one day said, or I started seeing her, she kind of did chiropractics and different, kind of got into the spiritual realm a little bit, and said, I don't think I can heal you, Gary, until I heal you emotionally. And it caught me off guard. So I said, I knew exactly what it was, what I'm not dealing with. And then, I started seeing her, and then eventually I told her. And so that was the second person I had told. And she started me down this path of like healing through telling people. And so I told my parents, my siblings, my children, a handful of my friends, but I wasn't feeling completely healed. And I'll get to why. So I did a weekend retreat with my son. He was, I don't remember what it is, in 8th grade in the Catholics, that confirmation or whatever that is. I lose track of the names.
It's confirmation.
But when we did like a men's weekend, and there may be people that hear this, but I ended up, there's this beautiful speaker who's talking, and and he's just, people are kind of sharing testimonies, and I decide, my son's sitting next to me, and I just remember this perfectly, and I just, the Holy Spirit, which I didn't know at the time, was just pushing me to get up and speak. And all of a sudden, I didn't tell my son, I just grabbed the mic, and I just felt this urge to say, like, all these boys that were, young, and I'm like, I basically said what had happened to me, and I said, don't be like me, waiting 30 years to
lift it off your chest.
To lift it off your chest. Like, you have to, like, tell your parents, like, don't let this sit in your body for as long as it did.
Down.
And it was, I'm up there and I'm crying, and it was funny because when I came back down, and whatever in myself was telling me, oh my God, you are so stupid. Like, you sucked. Like, you didn't get your point across. But then a couple men came to me, and then you hear my son, he's like, oh my gosh, you're so good. And then I just got very frustrated. Like, I'm not healed. Like, I could tell I wanted to help others, but I could tell I'm not healed, and I needed something more. So then a couple weeks later, I'm sitting in church at St. Mark in Huntersville, which we've been going to, and I didn't really have any relationship with the priests. And my wife would always stay late and talk with people, and so we're kind of sitting there, and I see the priest come by, and I said to my wife, I'm like, the only person I haven't talked to would be, a priest, where it kind of started. And by the way, and the priest that did that to me at this point was dead, which was helpful for me, I think, with telling my parents, because I don't really know, like, how my dad and mom would have reacted if he was still around.
Did they have a relationship with him?
Well, yeah. I mean, he was our pastor, you know what I mean? He was our priest or whatever. So, he would take me on, I mean, this sounds weird, but he would take me on trips. He took me to California. We didn't really have money, so it's a whole weird situation.
Well, that's where most predators go.
Yes.
Priests are not to the needy.
Yeah, exactly.
To the vulnerable.
Yes.
Of course.
So so I scheduled a meeting with the priest here in Huntersville, and he's like, "What can I do for you?" It's like a Friday afternoon, and what I say often is I just threw up on the table, and I told him things I had never told anybody.
Everything came out,
and I told him, which had never left my mouth before, that after what had happened to me with the priest, I got exposed to pornography from my father, and was an addiction for me for my whole life, which I couldn't believe I told this guy.
Yeah.
And
on the table. What do you do
yeah,
now?
and then he says, "Well, when's the last time you did confession?" And I said, "I don't know, probably in my teen years, but with everything that happened, it just wasn't a priority for me, and I had left the church, and my wife had brought me back, and so he gave me this paperwork, and he says, I want you to come back. I want you to read the first half of this book called Unbound, and then I want you to come back and let's do a confession." So I was excited because I'm like an engineer, like, oh, you gave me a job. I'm going to go buy this book on Amazon. I'm going to go through this thing. And I read this book, and then I realized the main takeaway that I got out of this book was I had talked to all these people, because for me, I had to forgive my parents for putting me, even though they weren't aware, like they were having me go on trips with this priest, you know what I mean?
Did you believe that, or is that what the book told you?
No, so the book taught me that I had to forgive myself. That's where I was
Awesome.
stuck.
Gotcha.
Was forgiving myself, because those things happened to me 30 plus years ago, but this pornography addiction is still happening like today. And that's where, I have to be honest about that and, and deal with that.
Yeah.
And that's more me. So I got that out of the book. I come back and I'm excited. So it's a week later. And I remember it's like April 20th, 2018. And I go there and it's Friday afternoon. I come there after work. And we go through this confession thing. And I'm telling him all these things. And he's writing things down. And then he stands up and puts his hands over my head. I might have been standing. And he starts, just saying, through the power of Jesus, I release you from this shame and guilt and pain. And he just goes through all these things. And I'm like, because before that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing great. I'm not crying at all. I'm telling him all these things. And all of a sudden, as he's telling me this, I remember looking down and I got tears like falling out of my eyes, landing on my glasses. He has this dog that's walking circles and it feels like a balloon is blowing up in my head. And I don't know what's going on. And he's asking me to repeat after him. And I get out like I can't speak, like I don't know what's happening to me. So I must have been standing, because then he ended and it felt like energy threw me back into this chair. He sat down, I sat down. I'm a complete sweaty mess. And I look at him, I'm like, what just happened? And I remember he says, you were very, I can't even think
like
of the
out
word
of
he used.
body?
Like, no, you were very accepting. You were very
receptive.
You're very receptive.
Okay,
like,
Gary.
Okay.
On that on that thought, we're going to hit pause for a second. We have to take a break.
Okay.
Okay. So
Sorry,
guys,
thank you.
I'm certainly riveted and I don't know what else to say, but don't go away, because we will see you in just a couple minutes on The Good Soul.
Good pause.
Hey there, busy women in your 30s, 40s, and 50s. This is for you. If you've been struggling with fatigue, stubborn weight gain, restless nights, or gut issues that just won't quit, it's time to stop guessing and start healing. Kimberly is an integrative health practitioner and helps women uncover the root causes of their health challenges so they can feel energized, balanced, and truly alive again. Let's get to the bottom of what's holding you back. Book your free health strategy call today at KimberlyFlebby.com, because you deserve to feel amazing every day. Welcome back, everybody, to The Good Soul. I am Patty Alvarez. I'm here with my amazing friend, Gary Breit, and we are in episode 47, talking Come to Jesus. I have to be honest with you, what I learned in the segment prior, I had no idea Gary was going to share something so powerful and personal with us. And I want to thank you, Gary, for doing that.
No, it's healing for me.
Good.
I felt like I was trying to say earlier, I felt that God was going to use that in me to help others. Mm-hmm. So I knew if I couldn't talk about it without breaking down, then that would be difficult. But obviously there's an emotional part to it, and that I'll get into around the healing and what I learned had happened to me in that at that time. So
we left it at, you were in the priest's office in Huntersville at St. Mark's.
Yes.
And we had
both fallen back, and he said you were very receptive.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you want me to continue?
Back, please.
Yeah. So he said that, and I'm a hugger.
Mm-hmm. You are a hugger.
I said, well, I'm going to need a hug. So we both got up, and he gave me this sort of side priest hug thing, which was as good as I could get.
Yeah.
And then, I'm like, what happened? And he said, well, I want you to finish reading the book. So that was the second half of the book. So there's like so much that went into this. There was a lead in. So I ended up, the day I went, my whole family was gone. So my daughter went to a prom in Raleigh where her cousin goes to school, and with one of her friends. So my wife took her there. And then my son was at a weekend retreat. So it was just this beautiful time of me being able to process all this stuff by myself. And then that morning, I didn't know what was going to happen, but I knew something big was going to happen. Of course, I hadn't told my wife about my addiction, but I had a very emotional conversation with her before she left. Like, I just know something big's going to happen. And I think that's part of it, is us, as God moves in your life, and you have to accept that and trust that. And I feel like that was one of the first times where I just knew in my heart that God was going to move. I didn't really know what that meant, but I knew something big was going to happen. So,
did you know, Gary, it would be the path of Jesus, or did you think?
I was looking for healing. I was looking to release this guilt and shame of what had happened to me and what I had continued to struggle with. And I was just caught off so fast that when I saw the priest, that I told him all these things, and then he gave me that action, but I had no idea what we were going to do. But what I learned then is that I had an experience of deliverance. So this is stuff you see in the Bible. This is stuff you see with priests, with whether, a demon attaches yourself. And I do believe, like, when something like this happens to you as a child, something sticks to you, not good, and just constantly tells you this negativity that you need it. And so let me just finish this story. So I leave his office, and St. Mark's School is attached, and all these kids are meeting their parents. And it's just beautiful, and I'm a mess, and I just want to get to my car and call my wife. So I'm walking through this, and suddenly I'm feeling like, it's hard to explain, but it felt like I was in a dream, and I'm walking through heaven. Because there's just so much love in the air of this, like, Friday connection with son and daughter and mom, mostly mom. And it seemed like nobody could see me. It seemed like I was this odd person who was just trying to get to my car, and everybody's connecting in this love, and I'm just in this space. And then it was funny because I was sensing this, and then I get to my car, and right before I open the door, this little boy, it might break me, but he's holding his mom's hand.
You're good, guy. You're good. You got it.
He turns around and looks at me and says, "You're going to be okay."
Oh, my God.
He didn't say that. I could tell that's what God was telling me through this boy.
Yeah.
It's just looking at me like, "You're going to be okay."
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't verbal. It just was what I knew.
Yeah.
So it was beautiful for me. So it's just a gift from God. Like, I'm with you. I see you. You're going to be okay. So I get in the car, call my wife. I'm like, I have stuff to tell you, but I want to do it in person. We'll see you tomorrow. So I get home, and always when you're home alone, like, temptations come and nothing's happening. And I realize something's off. Like, for the first time in my life, I feel free. Like, I feel this freedom that I didn't know. And then when you read the book and you realize what happened, like, he had freed me of this addiction, temptation, whatever. And I just was so thankful. And then I had a priest friend who I had planned to already talk to him. I had this feeling if things didn't work out, he was going to help me. And he basically said, "You went through a deliverance. Yeah, God has freed you." And so Can
you define deliverance for the audience?
In
this context.
I probably don't know officially what it is, but for me, it's something bad. Either you're doing something bad happens to you, you allow what I would call a demon of some sort, evil, attach itself to you. And so the deliverance is removing that.
Okay.
It's taking that off of you. And the important thing you learn with deliverance is, and the Bible talks about this, is when you remove the demon, you have to fill that. If you don't fill it with God's love and light, more come back. He'll bring more his friends back, and it'll be worse than it was before.
Okay.
So that's the key in that is that. So when a priest or somebody does a deliverance, that's the most important part, is filling that empty space. And that's just verbally. Father, I ask you to fill this empty space with your love and light in Jesus' name. So anyway, so that happens. I go out in the woods, because that's generally, and I just start thanking God. I think he gave me like 10 Hail Marys or something,
So at this point, you're practicing Catholic, and you're using prayer
And then
as a
God just
tool.
keeps moving in me. Like I
Okay.
go back to church and suddenly everything said is hitting me like so emotionally. And then and then God starts bringing people into my life. And a friend of my wife and her sister from their small town in Pennsylvania calls one day, and she's like what I would call a seer, somebody who can see in the spirit realm, hears God clearly. And she's having this conversation with my wife, and I jump in and we just become, she's the one that told me, she's a psychologist by profession. She's the one that told me that when you've been abused and your youngest gets to the age of your abuse, it becomes like a traumatic time, because I didn't really go into that at the time because I didn't tell you that, but like it was almost like I was a child. And when I would even go into, I'm sharing something I don't always share, but like when you're still addicted, it's almost like your body's shaking, like when you're being abused, but you're doing it. It's like this weird, and you learn like it's about control, right? It's about it. Usually, if things would happen in my job or in my life that I wasn't controlled, you said, well, I'll go back to this I'm controlling. And it's the exact opposite, right? It's controlling you, but you have this mindset that I'm going to go to something that I'm familiar with, that I can control. So,
Gary, I have a question. So one powerful thing that I learned this through a documentary, that that when children are abused, I'm just going to be blunt about it. They almost enjoy it to a certain degree. There's something delightful, and I'm not saying this was the case with you. It wasn't the case with you.
That was not the case. No.
And they feel like it's this, like their little secret, so that maybe okay. So
yeah, no. For me, it was like I don't remember too much. I remember this is very detailed. I remember him touching me, and I didn't know it at the time, but I ejaculated.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
But I went and I threw up. Like I just was so sick, and I was sitting in the bathroom throwing up.
Yeah.
And that's where what's interesting with the way God has moved in my life, I talk to God now every morning, and he actually let me relive that. And I saw that the Holy Spirit was with me. And so when I got up from throwing up and I walked, and I remember him sitting in the dark, and I told him, you can't do that to me anymore. This is what I remember. And in my memory, that was done. That was it. So, and you just see how frail and pathetic he is as an adult looking back to that, but you don't, you know what I mean? Like it's just,
of course,
it's almost sadness because there's so much demons around him.
Yeah.
And you just, like, I have completely forgiven him. God gave me a blessing one time where I think he was struggling. I believe that if you've done bad things, you may not forgive yourself to be able to go up to heaven. And if I helped in that process to help forgive him, that was one of the many things that God has done with me since then to help him get to heaven. And so,
okay, we're going to hit pause. We're going to hit pause here. We have to wrap up segment 3. I still have questions, but we are going to take a quick break, and we'll be back for segment 4. Guys, don't go away. We'll see you in a few on The Good Soul. Who isn't looking to get happy and healthy and empower themselves in an extraordinary fitness community? At Good Soul Hot Yoga, we offer life-changing yoga, strength training, cycling, and relaxing therapeutic classes that will make everything in your life feel better. For some power, balance, and peace of mind, we will deliver. Come experience our spa-like wonderland in the center of Mooresville. We will become your happy place. Welcome back, everybody, to The Good Soul, episode 47. This episode is titled Come to Jesus, and I have my great friend, Gary Breit here. Gary, we're going to pick up right where we left off.
Yeah, so I was telling Patty and her husband here while we were on break that just to finish that story of the priest who had abused me and my seer friend, so she was over at our house, and we were doing these prayers, and we did like these 10 prayers, and of course it landed on me with this forgiveness prayer. And all of a sudden she paused and she said, the priest is in the room with us and he needs you to forgive him. And I will admit, for a split second, I kind of maybe said a swear word in my head,
Mhm.
like X
Out
you
of my mouth.
Yeah, in your head.
in my head. I don't know if I said it out loud, but and then it just was beautiful because this prayer I had done repeatedly, now when I was reading it out loud, just meant so much, and we all kind of held hands, and from her perspective, we were helping him forgive himself to go back to God, and what I would say, accept the angel's hand and return to our our true home with Father and Jesus and everybody that's up there and all those before us. So, and then I just wanted to enjoy, to finish that story. That kind of got off track, but so then, right, I tell my wife, I tell my children, and I feel like healed now. I can function, and everything in my life starts changing. I had been at Lowe's for, I don't remember, a long time, 11 years, and suddenly I'm promoted. And then 3 months later, I'm promoted again.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just on fire. If people have ever had this happen, like, I just want to pray on everybody. I just wanted everybody to experience it. In fact, I started getting you got to slow that down. This is work.
Yeah. Are you verbalizing this, or are you just thinking it? Or is everybody like, oh God, here he comes. He wants to pray again.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So,
One of those.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Cool,
I'm
though,
smart
Gary.
enough to know at the levels
I
I'm
know,
at, right,
and I'm
that
joking.
You have to hold back a little bit, but
yeah.
And so then
It's cute, Gary.
Yeah.
That's
So
fine.
then
That's fine.
later that year, my birthday was coming up, and this woman who had been helping me through all this stuff, and another thing was for people that maybe have gone through this, and you start going to therapy, right, and it takes you years and years to recover, and you learn that when this abuse happens to you, you're emotionally stuck in this age. You're physically
I've heard
growing,
that.
but you're emotionally stuck at 10 or whatever, and then I can sense that it's changing. Like it's
growing
embarrassing to say, like, I'm going through puberty as a
Yeah,
45-year-old. And it's like,
brilliant.
and you're flying through this in a matter of days versus years. And it's just God healing you. And it was beautiful to have somebody kind of help me understand what was happening and walking me through that. So anyway, on my birthday, she surprised us. She meets us at my house in Huntersville here, and we have a beautiful weekend. And I had one or two events, and one with her where my experience with the deliverance is you may have additional little ones after that where you, it's just tiny. And for me, it was triggered once when the priest talked about the sexual abuse in the Catholic Church, and we normally get Mexican food after church. And I said to my family, like, I have to drop you off, but something's off with me. I don't feel good. And as soon as I pulled into the garage and shut the door, I just felt like it's kind of weird. It's like the horror movies, and it feels like something starts at your gut and something gets, for me, it just releases out of my mouth. Like your mouth is super wide, and at the time I was a little freaked out. I was like, oh my gosh, should it come back in me? Not realizing, no.
Are you verbal
remnants.
or do you vomit?
I yell.
You yell.
I yell.
Okay.
I kind of give like a little bit of a
growl?
like a guttural scream.
Yeah. Okay.
Dude, that's exhaling. If you're
Yes.
yelling, you're exhaling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
anyway, so then I had some experiences with that, and then, like, it was just beautiful. Like, I remember one time I was getting my car repaired, and I needed to have somebody drive me back home. And it was the first time I had ever brought up Jesus to somebody I didn't know. And it was like a big thing because I had been, come on, you can do it. You can do it. Just try to introduce something, right? And then after that, another thing got released from me, something that, a little piece that might have, like a remnant. Exactly. So anyway, so she comes, it's just a beautiful story. So she comes, and we're driving in my convertible, and we're going to go pick up like a birthday cake for me or to make it. And, listening to Christian music, and just a beautiful, perfect day. And I get that experience again, and she just sits with me, and when I'm done,
What experience you feel? Something
deliverance
coming?
again,
Okay.
like just let's say like a guttural sort of yell of something, and then she says, "Don't get up right away, just stay where you are, and And I remember she kept saying, "Do you see Jesus? Do you see Jesus?" And I said, "No, I don't see Jesus. My eyes are closed and I'm sweaty because and then if she said run, or if I started running, and now I'm in a field and I have become pretty good at visualization. So I'm running through this field and I see in the distance Jesus just as light. And I remember just running right into him, and I'm crying and bawling. And I know she's next to me, and I'm like, I don't know where he went. And she says, he's holding you. And it just was beautiful. And
Don't make me get up and give you
And
one of
how
those
do you
up.
And
see
then-
that? Do you see that? Let's take it down to like
Yeah.
a ground level. Do you see that as now, like Jesus is carrying you? Jesus is within you. He's always with you. Like, was that
yeah,
the
I mean,
shift
I
that
probably,
happened?
I probably, let me finish this and
Okay.
get back to that. So I just
Okay.
want to say one more thing. So that at the end of that weekend, I'm taking a shower and I get a glimpse of heaven. And it might have been a split second, but all I knew was that everybody in heaven was dancing. And if you remember the Peanuts when they're dancing,
Of course.
like they're doing their thing.
Uh-huh.
And so everybody looks tiny, but in your heart, you know what they're dancing for. In your heart, you know they're dancing for everything that came together to get me to where I was now. And it's just very emotional to think of all that God did to get me to this place of healing and of sharing and of growing. It just was a beautiful thing. So now go tell me your question. I just wanted to share that with you because that's generally a place where I will pause and finish sort of that first 6 months
Is
of,
everybody on the cloud?
I think they were on a
Come
field.
on.
It was weird. It was in a field.
Like, no,
But they were
we're
dancing.
gladiators.
No, they were dancing. They were just dancing, and it just was
Through wheat
beautiful.
field and stuff.
Yes, exactly.
The name of my intentions and manifestations in my computer, one of my favorite words is rejoice.
Yeah.
Rejoice.
You're happy.
Rejoice.
Yeah. For me, it's like joy. For me,
Joy.
God talks to me about joy.
Joy.
Like just more than happiness, like just joy.
Yeah.
And enjoying and sharing joy and being joyful. And so and God I've always smiled. It's
Yeah.
just been how I dealt with stress. Like
Yeah.
I remember as a young person, like when things got stressful, sometimes I would laugh inappropriately
Yeah.
because I was
nervous,
trying
of
to like
course.
ease the tension or
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, your emotions are very tender. I think that's
Yeah.
why your cry reflex is so powerful too. It's
Yeah, and I
the
don't know if I
same-
told you, I do think that was a gift from God
Yeah,
for me to
you
know
feel
that
deeply.
the Spirit is on me, so I get a little emotional
Yeah.
because
Well, you
that's just
told me
like-
off camera.
yes, I
And
told
I
you
let-
that off
yeah.
camera. Yes.
I have an Italian family. My aunts used to cry over. I'm used
Yeah.
to crying, and I cry a lot too. My question for you was, and I'm going to preface the question with a bit of a story that I think I had told you off camera. I've downloaded the Halo app, and I've been
Yeah.
trying very hard to embrace the Bible and apply it to my life, to my work, to my marriage, to everything. And I did the Advent before Christmas, the 25 days. And then now I've been doing a Bible a day. So I'm
Yes.
up to, as we talked about, I'm up to Genesis 33, 34 and Job, right?
Yeah.
But the long and short of it, what I'm trying to say is whenever I get sad, I get very stressed, I get anxiety, I'm not good enough, I'm not this enough. I mean, you'll be in class, you guys will be in class, and I'll be in here like, you suck, Patty, for whatever I did or didn't do. And I hear God's voice in my head saying, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to cry. I'm with you, and you're okay. Everything is okay, and I never relied on that in my life. I always relied on myself and logic. And it's something I'm walking into now. And I can't say I'm fully where you are yet, where I'm like,
It's a journey.
I'm a believer. Yeah.
It's a journey. It's God gave me a super strong woman, a patient woman. And, when your kids get older and you see them in their relationships and you pray that they find somebody like me. And I mean, I went 20 years where I was like stressed that if I die, I mean, I don't even know I'm going to heaven because look at what I've done. You know what I mean? And now I'm in this beautiful place where my relationship is everything I ever imagined and hoped beyond that.
Yeah.
And it's just this beautiful journey that God is so patient. And you say that I'm with you, like we'll get into it maybe in the next one, but I talk to God every morning now and I write down our conversations, and he's so every day. My wife, if she joins us, is how much he loves me. Like, and I laugh because I like positive affirmations, and he just, even when I do bad things, he's so gentle with the way he corrects you and so loving. Like it's unimaginable to be, because he's all our Father. Like, and that's who I mostly talk to is God. So
do you talk to anybody else? Do you talk to like your grandmother who passed, or?
I've had visions of, I didn't say this in the beginning, like I was really good friends with the priest before that one. We used to play like checkers together, and he was the only person I had known that had passed. And he had visited me once. His name was Father Tom. And I can't remember. Like I've seen Mary a couple times, particularly in the beginning, because she was very important for me as I was dealing with just the struggles as a boy, and I needed some motherly love or whatever. And my mom's in Wisconsin, and so
Gary, I hate to do that.
Yeah, we're gonna finish. We're gonna have to wrap it up.
Yeah. But we're definitely gonna come back because. I'd like to hear about, again, some of the ground level stuff. Like, how did it impact your marriage? How did it impact your parenting and your job?
Yeah.
And what did that look like? How did it come out? And I'm really anxious to hear about your journey again with God and your.
Yes, that's only the start. And so I look forward to it too.
Same. Yes. Gary, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I appreciate it. I hope that all of you, I know I'm so inspired and intrigued, and really just very proud of you most of all. So this is the first time I've ever done this, but I'm going to get up and
I love hugs.
Thank you, Gary.
Right on.
I love you, Gary. Guys, thank you for being here, everybody. We will see you in a week. We are on WSIC 4 to 5 on Tuesdays, or you can catch us, of course, on all your social platforms. So guys, please tune in, watch, share, like, subscribe, and just keep coming back. And again, come back to see us. We're going to hear more from Gary on episode 2. So thanks for being here, guys.